How's it going, you guys? So, just recently I started taking a new supplement that I've taken many times in the past from different brands and different types of extracts and different forms. It's called Mucuna Peruins, otherwise known as velvet bean. Okay. And so, this one is Now Foods. It's a powdered extract in a capsule. It has 15% L-Dopa, which each serving, which is 2 capsules, equals out to 800 milligrams of the extract and 120 milligrams of actual L-Dopa. There are a lot of misconceptions about Mucuna. Okay, the first misconception is that it's going to drastically affect your brain like some type of narcotic or some type of hard drug. The fact of the matter is that, well, first of all, it depends. If you're taking isolated L-Dopa, yeah, that's a pharmaceutical drug. That's what they use for Parkinson's patients and other issues. I think they also can use that for low blood pressure. That's not a healthy thing to do, okay? But when we're talking about a herb or an herbal extract, even if it's standardized for the active constituent, it's going to have a much more balanced effect than that. Trust me. So there's a couple things to consider, and talk to your doctor before you take something like this. Talk to a medical professional. Okay, I'm not responsible for any crazy things that might happen, but I can tell you if you're taking antidepressants and you're taking other medications and things like that, that will definitely change the effects that this herb has. And that really goes for any herb, okay? Rhodiola, St. John's wort, all of these things, and especially the amino acids too. You don't want to combine pharmaceutical drugs with herbs, not unless you're working with a licensed professional. Anyway, otherwise, this does not have withdrawal effects, okay? Maybe if you take extreme amounts, but most people don't take enough. What I have noticed is when I take it at the recommended dose, so I've taken a couple, but this one right now, I've taken a couple for long periods of time, over the past 5 years. And this one in particular, I've taken before in the past. And actually, it was around the time when I first made one of my biggest transformations mentally and emotionally. It was through the period of time where I realized that I do want to research health and nutrition and physiology full time, and when I started to really transform my life. But I've been taking it now for about 2 days. Wait a second. It's been 2 days now. And with something like this, you can actually tell right away if it's working or not. But you have to be very sensitive already to your physiology, which most people are not. Most people are so numb to their own body, they can't tell whether grains affect their digestion, or they can't tell what foods cause what problems in themselves. They can't tell right after they eat a certain food if it makes them feel good or if it makes them feel bad, which is kind of sad. Most people are so numb that they really don't notice any kind of beneficial effects or negative effects from anything unless it's a very powerful pharmaceutical drug. But this tends to give me a very subtle boost and, well, a very strong boost in mental clarity, but it makes my nagging, distractive thoughts more subtle. That's a good way to put it. So before I started taking Mucuna Peruins, my mind was very prone to scatterbrain. It was very, very hard for me to focus on one thing at a time. It was very hard for me to wash the dishes without having a strong urge to clean the living room, without having the urge to play a video game, and at the same time having an urge to record a video. It was really weird. I wanted to read books and I wanted to do everything at once. And so I would start cleaning the house, I'd start cleaning the living room, And then I couldn't finish cleaning the living room, so I went on to clean the dishes. And then when I'm cleaning the dishes, I'm like, fuck, I need to listen to something. So I'd listen to some kind of audiobook. But then I'd be like, fuck, like I need to do something more productive. So I go and record a video, and it's really crazy. Of course, I've controlled this through other means, but, you know, in the past. But at a baseline, this type of feeling would always creep up on me. This overstimulation, this, I guess, ADD, OCD type of behavior, which I could easily control myself, but it took a lot of energy and effort. I always felt drained and restless. It's very, very hard. And so it was like a restless, anxious attention deficit. It's hard to explain. But it had the benefit of being able to think of millions of things all at one time. So it was a gift and a curse. And that's why a lot of my videos are so in-depth with all this information, because of this big picture thinking where I can branch off into all sorts of different things. The downside of that is I was not able to focus on one thing at a time. And so Mucuna Peruins is like the magical antidote, which right away, within 1 to 3 hours, I'm going to say, I started to notice it. I felt it kick in within 1 hour, where I felt more inspired, more like satisfaction, subtle satisfaction from subtle things. So within 1 hour, I was able to appreciate, like we're driving to a buffet, me and my girlfriend, after I bought it, and I was able to appreciate the trees and the nature around me, as cliche as it sounds, much more real, like much more tangibly, compared to before, where it was just like in the background and I would try to appreciate it and I'd pretend to appreciate it, but I didn't really feel it. It was like, I think they call it andohenia, or basically lethargy, where you're kind of going through life and you just don't feel pleasure, especially from the simple things. And that is a dopamine issue, without a shadow of a doubt. And I know this is a dopamine issue because I noticed addictions such as pornography, for example. Pornography, when I would go long periods of time without watching porn, especially if I do semen retention at the same time. Okay, people who say that, oh, like that's bullshit, it's placebo. You're ignorant. It's not placebo. It's dopamine. It's common fucking sense. It's a very simple thing to understand, and anybody who understands the nature of addiction and dopamine receptors understands pornography obviously can definitely cause downregulation dopamine receptors. And so when I would let my dopamine receptors rest for a long time by not watching porn, by removing my cell phone for a long time, by the way, letting my cell phone go, like fasting from social media and those dopamine receptor stimulating activities, like always looking at your phone, like always having your phone with you. Like people can't sit in a waiting room at the doctor's office without looking at their phone. Like people are scared of being idle-minded. It's really sad. It's really sad that people can't just sit and be bored. Like, wow, you must, like that's crazy. Anyway, removing porn and removing my cell phone for a period of time seemed to make my dopamine receptors more sensitive. And so before, I was never able to sit with myself, like sit and do nothing and appreciate life. I'd always have to have some kind of stimulation. But when I stopped stimulating my brain with the smartphone and with the porn, over time, my dopamine receptors regulated, and I was able to sit without talking, without a book, without anything, and just kind of like appreciate the moment, which is where most of my greatest inspirations came from. And anyway, my point is, Mucuna seems to have the very same effect. Now, I'll tell you this. Number one, if you have an addiction, especially a porn problem or a cell phone scrolling problem where you just by habit open up Facebook and open up Instagram, then you should address that. Even if you take this, okay, you should address that. All right? Because for most people, if they just remove their cell phone and they remove their porn addiction, they'll naturally feel high all the time, basically. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people that are addicted don't want to hear it, but it's true. But anyway, this I've noticed makes it much easier to remove the phone and remove the porn. And now, an interesting thing that I noticed is when I first started taking Mucuna back in January of 2015, I was able to go a whole 2 months without ejaculating at all, and no porn at all, and that obviously no porn. But so, and it's an amazing thing because I actually had more action during that time than I had when I used to ejaculate all the time. Well, I had more opportunities, let's say, because I remember during that time I went to one girl's house, for example. I went to a couple. I was dating around, basically. I went to one girl's house, and I remember she was all making out with me and stuff. And we could have definitely like went further. I could have had sex and ejaculated. But I was so detached from ejaculation, and I was so just like pleasured in life, like appreciating the moment for what it is, that I didn't care if I ejaculated or not, you see, because ejaculation is dopamine. It's like makes you chase that pleasure. That pleasure you feel is not dopamine. That pleasure is, well, if you don't have the neurotransmitters that this gives you, then you're going to be chasing those neurotransmitters through orgasm. You're going to continuously do that. And so I was able to basically abstain from like orgasm and ejaculation. So it made it easier for me to stay away from porn. It made it easier for me to stay away from all sorts of addictions, which I never had any crazy addictions other than porn, basically, and Monster Energy drink and junk food. But anyway, I think that's very amazing. Like, I was just so addicted to porn and ejaculation for so long, and then when I started taking this, it was just so easy for me to just not care. And the interesting thing is it actually made girls want me more, because they play these weird games where they're like they're all over you, making out with you and stuff, and then you try to have sex with them and they say nope, no sex, and then most guys are like, what the hell, and they get all butthurt. But for me, I was just like, it's cool, we got a movie on anyway, I'm enjoying this movie, even though I didn't like the movie. It was Beetlejuice, but I remember just watching the movie, and then she was back on. Anyway, so I was able to appreciate the present moment so much that I didn't really chase the orgasm, and it made life so much easier. Like, and so, for people who are struggling with porn addiction and erectile dysfunction related to addiction, which most people have that. All these crazy people that comment on my pornography or my erectile dysfunction as a joke video, and they're all like trying to tell me I'm full of shit, which is so sad. They're all ignorant. They say there's no, like, this is bad. You say this is backed by science, but I don't see no evidence. Like, motherfucker, a Google search. Anyway, this would help all these people. So a supplement that can help with porn addiction, that's what this could do. I've noticed I'm much more easygoing, and I appreciate social interactions much more. I'm just much more satisfied with everything that seems to happen in my life. I actually feel like I've been missing, like whatever this has been doing, I feel like I've been missing in my life. Now, the problem is, most people who seek this are expecting their entire life to change. They're expecting to feel significantly different. And the thing is, if you keep with it and you're able to really see what it's actually doing, really appreciate what it's actually doing, if you're actually sensitive enough to what it's doing, this Mucuna in all forms can really work wonders and magic on your life. But the problem is that it's not like just like, whoa man, I feel so much better, like it's not like getting high. I do definitely feel so much more relaxed, more like sharp, yet go with the flow at the same time, and more focused, more inspired. Just doing things is much easier. Like, I don't think as much as I do these days. I do more and think less, which is complete flip-flop. But it's not like smoking weed or something. It's not like some kind of drug. It's not like taking a pre-workout. It's not like taking an amphetamine or something. I'm sure it could be if you take enough of it, or if you're on some other kind of pharmaceuticals, or depending on your own body and stuff. So like a lot of people who take this might think it doesn't work, but it's really kind of like sad, because what it's doing to you is subtle but so powerful at the same time. You just have to kind of take advantage of that. And if you think it's not working, you might nocebo yourself into not being able to take advantage of the full effects. You might not actually realize just how much easier it is to focus for you. And some people might just not need it. They might need something else, like reishi or cordyceps. But this definitely has made a huge impact in my life, for sure, without a doubt. Another interesting thing that I noticed, a lot of stronger teas, like black tea and certain green teas, used to make me feel very, like, even more scatterbrained and jittery. Not because of the caffeine, but because of alkaloids inside of the tea that mess with your dopamine. And I started taking this, and I noticed that type of effect has been significantly decreased. And I do remember teas like yerba mate and other things used to feel so much better when I would take this supplement. And I've seen from various forums and things that people actually take green tea and ECGC, or green tea extract, on the side to help boost and potentiate the effects of Mucuna. So it's interesting that I actually felt so, like, a little bit better drinking tea now that I'm on this supplement. But it has only, so like there's different types of extracts, and different ones are going to feel better. I know a lot of people, it's kind of sad, like their dopamine is so fucked that they can't even sit through like a 20-minute video of somebody explaining their in-depth story behind the supplement and making points. People are so like deficient in attention that they cannot follow along with the things I'm saying. They think that I'm just like, they're like, get to the point already. Like that's an extreme sign of mental imbalance. Get to the point already. If you really feel like I'm not getting to the point, commenting on it's not going to really help you get back those 20 minutes. It's not going to help. It's not going to change my videos in the future, because I feel like what I have to say is very valuable. If you don't value my information, why are you wasting your time commenting and trying to change it? How about you go watch someone else's shit? Anyway, I think Dopa Mucuna by Now Foods is a great extract, and I think Mucuna Peruins is an amazing herb in many different forms, as long as you get a effective brand or an effective extract. Another one I like is the Mucuna Peruins 10-to-1 extract. I believe it's a concentrated whole herb extract by Hyperion Herbs, and that one's great. Brandon Gilbert's a great guy. Follow his YouTube channel, by the way. His previous one got wrongfully banned from YouTube, and he had to start all over after losing 50,000 subscribers and all of his work from the last 10 years. Anyway, yeah, that's a good one from Hyperion Herbs. I highly recommend Mucuna, and I think everyone should try it. And if you want something just like light and affordable to start with, this one's pretty good. You know, if you really don't feel it, it could be because you need to fix your diet. If you're on a vegan diet, you're probably going to be deficient in many cofactors to produce dopamine, and so it's no wonder that you feel depressed and lethargic and have trouble feeling anything from this. And if you're on a standard American diet, obviously you're going to be basically your body's going to be full of shit. And so it's going to be very hard to feel good from anything when you are flooding your body with so much bullshit. So clean up your diet and watch my other videos on that. And subscribe to my videos if you haven't already. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know your own experiences and what you've noticed from Mucuna. And I'll talk to you all in the next video.